subtracting. Okay, so everything we've done thus far has been adding. And today we're going to talk a little bit about subtraction. Okay, one thing I want to make note of before we get too far. I kind of put this off to the side in your notes. If I have 7 minus 5, pretty simple, right? My answer would be 2. That is the same as, if you ever have subtraction, you can always slide a plus sign in between the first number and the subtraction sign. That is the same as 5 plus, and then a subtraction just goes to the negative 5. So some of us, when you were seeing this, said, well, isn't that the same as subtraction? Absolutely it is. Okay. Those people that like to do the arrows, adding with the arrows are a lot easier to decipher than subtracting. Okay, so this is the same as 7. If I draw my number line, back 5 to the left, I would end up at 2. So you get the same answer. Okay, you get the same answer. Let me give you another one. Thought I had another one written down here. So if I ask you for the answer to that one, what would you say? Colin? Negative 12. Anybody think anything different? Evan? 2. Kinley? 2. 2. Okay, so here's where subtraction, personally I prefer adding, because to me this is confusing. I could argue for 2, I could argue for 12, or negative 12, and there's obviously only one right answer, right? So let's go back and let's make it adding to use our rules that we've talked about. Where would the plus sign go here? Chesney. Okay, it goes between the number and the negative, the minus. So if I wrote it like this, I don't think you could argue that 2 is even an option, right? The answer is negative 12. So that's where adding is easier than subtracting, or problems like this. Okay, if I would have said, well, you're $5 in the hole, now you spent 7, I think you would have said $12 in the hole. Okay, subtracting, if you have trouble with it, you can always make it as adding the negative, and then use the rules that we've talked about. They're the same thing. We've done 2 examples, the answer is the same. If that makes you more comfortable, certainly do that. All right, number 1, now it says to solve mentally. 247 plus what is 458? Can you mentally give me an answer there? Kellen? 211. How'd you get that mentally?
7 plus 1 is 8, 4 plus 1 is 5. And then
All right, so you said you added 1, added 2 to get 458. I'd agree with that. Another way you could think of it, what is the opposite of a positive 247 here? Subtract, right? 458 minus 247. Next one. Again, it's asking us to see if we can get it mentally. So I need to get this to a 5. I need to get this to an 8. I needed to get this to a 9. I need to get this to a 2. What do you think on that one? Georgia, you got a guess? I like the 15. How do you get 87 to a 92? 87 plus what is 92? 5. 15.05. How about the last one? Brody, got an idea on that one?
I 15 point 0.05. 15 point 0.05 is 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 15 point 0.05. 15 point 0.05
36 over 8. So the 8's obviously got to stay. 15 plus what is 51? Do you agree with 36? All right, looks good. Number 2, rewrite each equation as a subtraction equation. Okay, well, how can I get 211 here? So for the first one, I am going to write 458 minus 247 gave me my 211. Jessica, can you give me the next one?
58.92 minus 43.87 equals 15.05.
Very good. Last one. Brooks.
51 over 8 minus 36 over 8 equals 15 over 8.
Yeah, that wouldn't be wrong. All these have my number here on the right as my answer. So I'm just going to continue that trend. That wouldn't be wrong. But I just wanted to keep all my answers on the right side. Notice we did a whole number decimal fraction. It's true for all of them. One of each there. Question 54. Again, Mountaineer changing elevations, write an expression. Expression does not have an equal sign in it. Equation would, so no equal sign needed here. And then write the value. All right. First one. Started at 400 feet, went to 900. What is the change? What is the difference? So I'm going to take the final minus the initial. Second column minus the first. 900 minus 400. Change is 500. So the second one. Final is 50. Minus, what was my initial? 400. Remember, if you have trouble, you can always write it as a addition equation to help me get my sign right. 50 plus negative 400 or 50 minus 400 would be negative 350. Let's do one more, then I'll have you try the rest. Starting 120 in a cave minus the initial. So here's one of those tricky ones again. And you can always draw a picture as well. Here's my sea level. I start 400 feet above. And I end at 120 below the surface. And I want to know how far apart those two things are. Sophia. Negative 520. My change is I went 520 down from my beginning to the end. Again, if you have trouble with that type, I personally prefer adding because I can easily see my sign there. Negative 520. All right, why don't you try the next 4? Final minus the initial. Do you remember the rule of 2 negative signs in a row? What that makes? Positive. All right, hopefully you got some of them there. First one. So 610 minus a negative 200 is the same as 610 plus 200. Kellen, 810. Jonas, next one.
Negative 150.
You're $50 in a hole and you go up 200.
Positive.
Positive 150. Chesney. Negative 500 minus a negative 200, which is the same as negative 500 plus 200.
Negative 700.
Okay, so you have $500 in a hole. You deposit 200. Negative 300. You have $0 minus a negative 200 is the same as 0 plus 200. Corbin, you want to do 0 plus 200 for me? Any questions on any of those four? Do you see where subtraction can add one more little trick to it if we're not careful? Take your time on those. Are you ready? We're going to do one of these. Directions on page 54 say fill in the table. So every row and column sum to 0, add up to 0. It's kind of like a Sudoku, for those of you that enjoy doing that, except we're working with zeros here. So which one is the easiest box to fill in? There's one I can get immediately. Which one?
The column on the right. The first one.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only one missing there, right? So let's look at 5 and 25. What do those add up to? 30. How about negative 12 and negative 18? Negative 30, right? If these two add up to 30, these two add up to negative 30, what does this have to be? 0. Now which one can we get? Georgia.
The
Bottom
bottom.
left, right? The bottom one right here. So let's look at my positive. I have a positive 25. What do my negatives add up to? Negative 30. So how many more positives do I need to cancel out the negative 30? I need 5. Now which one can I get? Top left. Again, add up the positives. 25 and 5 add up to a positive 30. I have a negative 12, so how many negatives am I missing to get to negative 30? Brooks.
Negative 18.
Negative 18 is correct. Kind of just working our way around here. Negative 18 and negative 12 is negative 30. I have a positive 5. So how do I get to positive 30 then to cancel out the negatives? 25 is correct. You got it done? Which one's next?
0, you go down 0.
25 and 5 is 30. Negative 18 and negative 12 is again negative 30, so that one's good. 0 there. Now what?
Oh, you have to do diagonal.
It said every row and column, so it did not say diagonal. Corbin,
The one, like, below the 0 that's in the middle,
here?
down, up to the right. Negative 12,
How do you know that one?
you can get below, there's already 12. The left,
Here?
no.
Okay. This is the one we can get for sure because we're only missing one number here. This one's tough because we're missing 2 now that we can figure it out. Kellen,
That one would be, 0.
got 30 and negative 30 again. Veronica,
And then it's the 5 up, that one, yeah, it's 5.
why?
Because you can't, it is.
It is.
Okay?
We did the other rows.
Yep.
first, that one last.
I guess I'm not saying that it would be,
Here? All right, so you're just using negative or 5 and negative 12, negative 18, 25 for all these. Make them work. That's fine. Okay, you can see there's other options that we could use as well. And then if you change those numbers, that's going to affect all this. And then there's more than one way to solve it as well. All right, so with your 5 here, you told me to put in. What would this one be? 25 again to get positive 30, negative 30. This way? 5 again. Then it gives you another one. You could find another way to do it. If you have one, that is good enough for me. Question 3. Does the order we subtract matter? Okay, does the order we add matter? We haven't really talked about that. Is 5 plus 3 the same as 3 plus 5?
Yes.
Yeah, they're the same, right? That is called a commutative property of addition. Subtraction, you'll notice that doesn't work. The order does matter when we subtract. What is 3 minus 2? 1. What is 2 minus 3? Negative 1. What is 5 minus a negative 9? Remember 2 negatives in a row, what that changes to? It changes to a plus. That's 14. Negative 9 minus another 5. Negative 14. Remember that is the same as this. Negative 11 minus 2. Careful. Remember that's the same as this. Negative 13. This one? Positive 13, 2 negatives in a row. Negative 6 minus a negative 3, 2 negatives in a row again. I'm going to change that to a plus. Negative 6 plus 3. Negative 6 plus 3. Negative 3. Negative 3 plus 6. 3. Decimals, same thing. 2 negatives in a row, make it a plus. Negative 1.2 plus 3.6. Brooks.
2.4.
2.4. How about if I just switch the signs? Now the 3.6 is bigger. Negative 2.4. Last one, same thing, dealing with fractions. Negative 2.5, 2 negatives in a row, plus 3.5. You're $2.50 in the hole and you deposit $3.50. $1. How about if you're $3.50 in the hole and you deposit $2.50? Negative $1, absolutely. Again, if you prefer plus, please do that. Number 2, what do you notice about the expressions? Okay, just looking at the expressions, what do you notice? Okay, when you're just looking at the, not necessarily reciprocal, because reciprocal of 14 would be 1 over 14. But just looking at the expression, you're subtracting the same numbers, but what do you notice about A to B? They're switched, right? So I'm going to say numbers are the same. Order is switched. And question 3, what do you notice about their values? Now we're talking about the answers. Going straight down. Jonas.
If one side goes positive and the other is negative.
Okay. What's a word that we can call those answers then? Yeah. They're opposites of each other. One is positive, one is negative. Sign switched, however you want to describe that. All right, take a look at Your assignment started on page 57. First question there is write a sentence. So we haven't had to write a sentence really describing an answer. Let's just look at this problem and do the first one together. How much warmer is 82 than 40?
42.
Okay, so 42 degrees. So to write a sentence, I'm going to say 82 is, here's my answer, 42 degrees warmer than 40. So that is basically, I found the answer and I wrote it as a sentence only because that's what the directions stated. Question number 2. Proportional or not? Is there a relationship? If so, write the equation. If not, explain why. So you either write the equation or you got to explain why it's not. Question number 3, it's referring to the difference. Remember, difference means subtract. Okay, difference means subtract. B is the same. 4, find the difference. Here again, you have subtraction. You spend $5, you spend another $6. And if you prefer, you can always slide that plus sign right in between there to use our rules if you're more comfortable with that. Make sure you get the correct sign. Question number 5. Kellen, would you read that one, please?
Family go to a restaurant and no times. This is kind of how much
Okay, how much would the price of the meal be? Since dollars and cents are averaged here, I don't want you to have to do all 3 of these. So why don't you pick one so we all get the same answer? You got a favorite? 20%, all right. So that's the one we're going to worry about. Book wants to do all 3 and average them together to get the final bill because all of our numbers are rounded to the nearest cent, obviously. So I'm looking for the original price. So what operation do I have to do here to get the original? Remember, Brooks?
You have to multiply it by 5 because 20% times 5 equals 100%, which is 100% of the bill.
That would work as well. But we're looking for the original, so another option is divide. 6.52 divided by my percent here. So either way is fine. Two going into those numbers, either way should be fine. Okay, since it's even there, that should come out perfectly to a cent. And question 6. Which is a scaled copy of polygon A? So it's a scaled copy of the first one. Identify a pair of parallel or corresponding sides and a pair of corresponding angles. Okay, so just kind of as a review, remember they have to look the same. If I want to know corresponding sides here, I might just circle them. Angles, you can use little curves to represent the same angle. Or maybe you want to draw an arrow to them, so you just have to identify corresponding sides or angles of whichever one is a scaled copy. Okay, any questions on that? All right, so 1 through 6 for tomorrow.